Well, good morning again, everybody. Was it like 4 or 5 days in a row and I'm making videos? Normally I make one a week. Oh, look at this. An old, looks like 1970s Lada. Old Russian car. Makes it look at, see there's the debris by the wheels. Looks like it's not running. Maybe somebody wants to restore it. I don't know. But anyway, reason why I'm doing a video today, and normally I wouldn't. It's the 1st of December. It's about 10:40 in the morning, similar to yesterday when I made a video. And the reason why I'm making a video today is there's some really startling news come out. And this is, I guess you could say, it's not breaking news, but it's something that happened maybe, I'm just guessing, maybe 4 or 5 hours ago, and it's actually a message from Trump. And I'll get into that, but I'll cover some of the other stuff first, and I'll try to go through that a little bit more quickly, because what Trump said is really striking. Actually, I've been here before. I think I walked this way. I made another video, but yeah, it's earth-shattering. It's how he plans to basically crush the BRICS, and it could work. You know, it could go one way and could go the other way. As I said, I'll get into that in a little bit. Really some crazy stuff. I think he probably put it out maybe, I don't know, what time is it? Yeah, maybe, I don't know. I didn't look at the time stamp, but he put it out on Truth Social. And you guys can see it, but I'll quote it. I wrote it down, what he said. And it's, yeah, pretty, in a way dastardly, in a way it's not dastardly. We'll get into that, but he maybe put it out 5 hours ago. So something like that. So a lot of the people that normally do these vlogs, maybe I'm getting a little bit of a jump on them. I could have done this much earlier, but it doesn't really get that light over here this time of year till maybe around 10 o'clock, and it's 10:40 or something like that right now, 10:45, I don't know. So okay, but let's go back into some of this other news here. And I wrote some things down and make sure that I don't get the heck. Oh no. Okay, here. As I said, there's not normally that much to report on Sundays, and I really wouldn't be putting anything out. I don't know what this guy's doing here first. Oh, here, look. Old road needs paving. Oh. He's just trying to get through there. Wave him through. Okay. So it's with the U.S. in decline, you know, we're watching a lot of these things that go on, and of course the two major incidents, major points right now are what's going on in Syria and what's going on in the Republic of Georgia. And we covered some of this stuff yesterday, that the U.S., you know, they're trying to hang on to this hegemony, and Biden's way is obviously with provocations and military interventions, and of course that's been the way most of the time with the U.S. governments. And it's, when I get into what Trump is doing, it's not with violence, it's something else. And it's actually brilliant in a way, and probably Trump was sitting back and saying, how am I gonna, you know, make sure that the United States stays on top without bombing people like we've always done in the past. So look at huge buildings here, big apartment buildings in this area. So anyhow, so in Georgia, you know, they're ratcheting things up there, of course. Let's go into what that is all about. Or maybe did I write Syria first? Oh, a lot of this stuff, you know, you talk about Israel and what they're all about, and you know, they declared this ceasefire in against Hezbollah, and I guess on the same day, that's when that started with Aleppo, with this attack on Aleppo. And apparently, maybe there's more information, and I can't say, I don't know, I don't have any real facts, but there's a lot of people are saying that Turkey is also involved in this on the side of Israel and the United States. But everybody knows the United States is definitely involved, Israel is definitely involved, and apparently there's some other players, maybe in the European Union, and this is to try to hang on to hegemony there. And you know, it's it's a maybe you would say it's a long-term sort of a deal, because what they plan on wanting to do is to, you know, pump the oil out of the Golan Heights in Syria. And Trump, of course, recognized the Golan Heights as part of Syria, even though the United Nations do not. They say it's, I mean, Trump recognized it as part of Israel, where, and it's actually not. It's what Israel stole from Syria. And as most of the U.S. government has always been, anything that Israel wants, Israel gets. Anything Israel steals, anyone they kill, everything is okay. You know, Israel is the spoiled stepchild of the U.S. Or maybe the U.S. is the spoiled stepchild of Israel. You know, sometimes you're never sure. But I guess maybe there's people, you know, the men behind the curtain pulling the strings. And I don't know, maybe they're just two spoiled children. You never know. Somehow Great Britain is the sort of unwanted child, but you know, that's involved in that too. Okay, so it's just, I'm just talking out of my backside on that stuff here. But well, I don't know if there's anything really to say about Georgia, because it's just intensifying, and maybe they're throwing some more people. And as you know, how that actually works is they put people on buses and airplanes, and they fly them to some of these countries to participate in the protests. There's even Belarusians involved. And as you know, there are people here, and you know, unfortunately, it's a naive type of people here in politically, so to speak. They don't really know how the West operates, and that's one reason why it was so easy for them to stage what was going on in 2020 to try to overthrow the government here of Belarus. And really easy pickings. It's strange how you see how these things work. I remember, you know, they had these gangs, you know, the Crips and the Bloods, and most of the time they were in California, for the most part Los Angeles, and they saw easy pickings up in Portland, because those people, there was no crime virtually in Oregon. It was lowest crime in the United States, basically. And so these people saw this and said, so they brought those gangs up there to do their drug things and drug trades and all that, get their territory. And of course turned Portland, as you saw in the Black Lives Matter protests, it turned that into a, you know, a real hot spot. And there were people there. I remember the police force, and the guy was like stunned. You could even see it in his eyes. He's black, and he was having to, you know, defend maybe public buildings against Black Lives Matter. And the strange thing is, and he said that this was really shocking to him, and maybe to a lot of people if you really think about this, but you have black policemen led by the commissioner who is black, and yet the people protesting in favor of Black Lives Matter, most of them were white. So here you have, I mean, if even though it's not really true, it looks like, oh, the white people are caring about black people's rights, but the black people don't care about black people's rights. And then you also have to ask the question, well, why is it that there were like well over 200 black people and a lot of children that were killed in those protests, and they were black? And it's like, you know, so. But for the most part, if you really want to give this a real title, it's not that Black Lives Matter. What it's actually showing you is that according to who's ever running all this stuff, that black lives do not matter. So, and then what was this? A lot of this, or maybe it was staged. You know, I got it all kind of mixed up. I'm not quite sure. You know, this George Floyd, who was this porno actor, drug dealer, and robber that robbed people, you know, at gunpoint, you know, beat up people, brutalized women, and sold drugs. And, you know, he was supposed to be the new Jesus or something. And is noticed, if you saw all those tapes where, you know, you had this Derek Chauvin with his knee on the neck of George Floyd, and George Floyd, while he was standing up, he was saying, I can't breathe, I can't breathe. And I guess they even have other footage at some other time when he was getting arrested and saying, I can't breathe, I can't breathe. And what happened was, obviously, he was sitting in a car, and then they came up from behind him, and he looked in his rear view mirror on the outside, and he saw the police that were coming up behind him. So he took all the drugs so that they couldn't find the drugs on him. So he thought, oh, they're going to search him. There's been no drugs. They're going to let him go. He'll go somewhere and get his stomach pumped and get the drugs pumped out. But it didn't happen that way, you know, because he was wanted and had other felonies and things, obviously, because he robbed people and all that. He had a prison term, you know, the new Jesus. I guess that's what it all is about today. And I'm just rehashing history, as you guys all know. So anyway, they took him in, and he died from the drug overdose. He didn't die from somebody sticking their knee on his neck, but that's the scenario that for the most part the Democratic Party used, to get people riled up and get people to kill each other. It's very sickening, and I'm not going to say that it's only the Democratic Party, but a lot of these, it's just incredible that these people really don't care about anybody. They don't care about the lives of Americans or Ukrainians. As a matter of fact, they're really happy if they can get Ukrainians dead. If they can kill as many Ukrainians, and that's just a path to try to kill a lot of Russians. And it's really a wonder what's going on in the world. Some people are thinking, oh, the vaccines made these people like this. I don't know. Is there something to that too? A lot of crazy stuff. I shouldn't be even saying that. I'm probably going to get deleted for even saying it. But I don't know. Because, I've known people, and it's again about this medical intervention, I should say, that some people are supposedly whistleblowers from this major producer of this medical intervention, these medications, that actually funds CNN and a lot of that. As you all know, maybe who that is, I can't say. But anyway, starts with a P, has a F sound on it though, but even if it starts with a P. But anyhow, some people that were whistleblowers that used to work there, they said that in a vat of 100 of those things, that only 15 of them are actually the real medicine, or if you want to call it a medicine. I don't know, if you look at it in a way that it's not positive. And in other words, if you had all of them with this medicine in there, what would happen is there'd be a lot of more people that were sick. Look at this, a vacant lot. Huge. Interesting. Доброе утро. Большой, huh? So anyway, it's what was I saying here? Anyway, if everybody had suffered the consequences of what this medication does, there'd be a lot of people, and everybody would start asking the question. Nobody would take it. So you had to have a lot of people surviving, and maybe that answers the question of why a lot of people didn't suffer any bad consequences from it. So sometimes it makes me ask the question, well, what about the boosters? Well, I don't know. Is that the same as what the original one was, or do you go somewhere? I didn't get it, as you know. But what about these boosters? Did they proclaim that the booster was the same as what the original was, or is that something different? I don't know. So I wasn't going to talk about that. So where are my cards? What was I going to talk about here? I should mention the fact that Israel has already violated that ceasefire. They've did some bombings in Lebanon. I don't know if it's anything really that major, but anyway, there's some news about him, and I didn't really read it. So if you want to look that up about old Netanyahu, and and what's going on there. But so let's see. Let me just see what else I have here in the news. A lot of money going into that operation, Syria, from the United States, hundreds of millions of dollars. And Russia and Syria, mostly Syria, they've having to move a lot of assets, and I guess last night, so this is kind of news as well, last night in our time, Syria is moving massive amount of troops there to try to gain control of that, because they're escalating that on the side of the United States. Wait a minute, the United States? What about terrorists? I don't know, but this group is like a offshoot or something, or the same thing as just a rebranding of the name Al-Nusra, and Al-Nusra is just a rebranding of Al-Qaeda. And you guys all know who runs these and where they get their money, and it's not Saudi Arabia, because a lot of people were speculating a lot of that, and maybe it was more than speculation, and maybe in the old days it was Saudi Arabia, but it's not anymore. It is, as you know, my native country. It has a lot in there. So what else is that? Some guy hiding. He's got his dog there. I don't know. Maybe he doesn't want to be on camera. So, yes, and there's film footage, and it's terrible. And I saw that on telegram, and they have some of these jihadis, you know, backed and paid by the United States government, and they captured some Syrian soldiers, and I don't know what did they have, at least maybe they had like 7 or 8 there, and they were showing this, and some had their hands up, and they showed them facing forward, and I think 1 or 2 maybe they were injured on the ground, and these Syrian rebels, you know, smiling at the camera and all that, and then they just opened fire and started shooting these people and killing them, you know, multiple bullets with machine guns, you know. It was terrible, terrible, terrible stuff. And looks like some scene from a movie, but it's not. It was real life. And that's the good old US of A, people. And trying to kill and depose the Christian leader of Syria. So that has a population that is 30% Christians, Orthodox Christians. Maybe, I'll tell you what, a lot of this, I had told somebody before, long before I had this channel, and I was noticing this in the past, that it seems like a lot of the time what's going on is it's a war against Orthodox Christians. And I was saying back then, I said against Christianity because, and that was during the Obama days, you know, because it seems like that, you know, they were killing and raping, you know, they had like beautiful girls in Syria. They showed pictures of them, you know, and of course, before they got killed and they were gang raped by these jihadis, and some, I guess, maybe were British, and then of course they killed her, they raped her to death, and anyway, that's what happened, I should say, to a friend of my mother's, and that was in World War II. I don't know, it's terrible stuff to talk about, but my mother's girlfriend, you know, when the armies came through, I believe she was, I don't know what, I keep thinking that she said it was in Dresden, but I don't know. Anyway, I thought it was maybe in the north. I'm mixed up. Doesn't matter where it was at, but what they did, and this is what happens in wars, is they take like beautiful girls that are, and you know, what they did to my wife's, or my mother's girlfriend is they nailed her to a door and raped her to death. And, you know, and they're doing a lot of this stuff. And I'm not saying Israelis do that, you know, to Palestinians necessarily. I think they think that Palestinians are subhuman and they're filthy animals, and they kill them, and they kill them very, very gladly. And you guys all know that. And they, especially children, the whole idea is to kill children because it's a form of genocide. They don't want these people to grow up and you know, have any kind of a presence whatsoever on that land or reproduce. And it's just because they want to create Eretz Israel and make it a, you know, a place supposedly Jews only, but I don't even know if it's Jews only. I guess it's maybe Zionist Jews, because there's a lot of Jews that are not like this, and of course, and they're really against this. And I'm hoping that someday that those are the people that are going to save that part of humanity, at least, you know, because look at how the United States supports this, and this stuff has a way of getting bigger and bigger. Look at what happened in like Ukraine. You know, they are fostering this Bandera attitude in Western Ukraine, and it grew and it took over most all of Ukraine, and it's all over in the Baltic states and some places else, maybe even in Poland. Poland's a little bit confused right now because of their past, so they hate, you know, I'm not saying all the people, there's certain peoples there, and I don't know if it's that much in Poland, to be honest with you. Certainly is in the Baltic states, and there's a lot of that maybe in Finland and those places too. And they just they really, really, really want to kill Russians, and they think that Russians are the source. And of course they're told that, the people in West Ukraine, that anything that goes wrong, anything that's bad, is because of the Russians, the Russians, the Russians. And it's even worse than what we went through in the Cold War in the United States, you know. And anything that, you know, oh, the Russians have this and the Russians have that. And it turns out that we had this sort of stuff, and that was just projection. And it's like shocking. And the more as time goes by, the more I'm seeing this stuff, you know, like we had these sneaky things and we doing these terrible things. Talk about, if you look at how Bob Marley really died, and, you know, through chemical poisoning, and it was admitted by the CIA that they killed Bob Marley. I don't know, am I allowed to say this stuff on YouTube? Sometimes, you know, putting this stuff out, you know, a lot of you guys might not know this, But like I said, the son of the man who killed Bob Marley said that his father was on his deathbed, and he admitted and he told how he killed Bob Marley. You know, putting like some sort of a poison pin inside of a tennis shoe, so they're acting like they were big fans and giving him some tennis shoes. And Bob Marley, ouch, you know, and that pin had poison on it. And I guess he slowly died over maybe the course of a month. A lot of people talk about Chavez, and they say that the microphone was poisoned, and he's, you know, slowly or actually fairly quickly died because of a poisoning. And what about Yasser Arafat? These are poisoning things. And then of course back in 1976, there's a small book, even though it should be much, much bigger because it doesn't include a lot of things that really happened, but it was called The CIA's Greatest Hits. And I think they started out doing assassinations in 1976, and I guess that was an African leader. You guys might be able to find that book. Somebody wrote to me, by the way, and they said that I should quote sources and things like that. And a lot of times I'm just kind of telling you where a lot of this stuff is. I can't quote sources and the times and who said it and all that sort of a deal all the time. Sometimes I do. But anyway, I put enough information in here where you guys can look that up, maybe in Google, and find out yourself. And of course you're going to find out like from Wikipedia or whatever, oh, it's all fake information. But I've found so many things they've said is fake, the Wikipedia or anybody, and then you find out it actually is true, and it's undeniably true. They try to steer you, you guys know this stuff, in different directions. I mean, the medical intervention went on in 2021. Everybody knows that there's some really suspicious stuff going on there. You know, at the very least you can say that it was an experiment, and it certainly was man-made. It's undeniable fact. Things were put out very, very early on. You know, North Carolina, it was a military, thing that was done through the United States Army, and of course they have other things. Dogs there. Trolley law. Try to get past this thing. That happened yesterday, didn't it? Some dog coming after me, some pocket poodle or a pocket wolf. They call them a pocket wolf. You know, these little dogs. In Germany, a Taschenwolf. That was a Taschenwolf there. So, okay, what else now? Let's see. I talked about Syria for the most part. Anyway, some of this stuff, maybe I won't even say anything about it. But, gosh, that's cold. The guy's out. Some guy coming out in some summer type shorts. Maybe he's probably got his own heat in there. And it's real hot. He's probably stoking up the fire. Do I see a wood pile? Got an old car there. That's another old car. I'll just show that. I don't know if that's a Lada. Doesn't have the mark on it for sure. Don't know anymore. Okay. What I actually should say, and I was actually hitting on this, is like chemical weapons. Boy, oh boy. And a lot of times you got to be careful talking about this stuff on YouTube when you talk about the biological parts of it. And Russia is uncovering more and more evidence and things. And they found out recently that, they found something in Avdiivka, and that Ukraine was producing daily 3 kilograms of toxins, chemical weapons. And the United States has been feeding Ukraine with a lot of these things. And there was a word, let's see where, okay, I'll probably have to sort of read this. You know, the U.S. is boosting the efforts to produce, and mostly in some parts of Ukraine and part of Africa as well, to produce, genetic tools to target specific ethnic groups. And Israel was doing this in the past, as you all know, and you can suspect that they would be doing this. So what they do is, you know, you create some kind of a virus and it only kills certain peoples from some other ethnic groups, but then obviously that's not that easy, because you got to isolate, some kind of genes, and then maybe some people have to be tested to make sure that they don't have those kind of genetics in them. And it reminds me of something. There was a Ukrainian guy, and he went to get his genetic sequencing done to find out, you know, because they can tell where your ancestry is from, which parts of the world, you know, when they do a look at it genetically. And this guy, he got really angry because he was one of these Nazis, and wanted to have the pure blood of the Ukrainians, just like the master race, like and all that sort of thing. And he found out that very little of his blood was actually Ukrainian, and a major part of it was actually Russian. And and that's one reason why Ukraine is perfectly willing to help the United States. And this was through, as you know, I have to be careful what I'm saying. I can't use certain words, maybe in some certain combinations, because I've already been kicked off of YouTube twice and have to sit out for a month or something because you put out this information, it's really taboo. So I have to kind of avoid the algorithms. That's probably because of this sort of thing is why I don't know if you call it shadow banned, but not many people get my videos. They're not going to cold call them onto most people, so you guys are some of the privileged few to be getting this, because it's not because I'm talking about some delicate sort of things. But now that I've gone through that, what was I trying to say? But let me see if I can get my thoughts back based on where I was at. Genetic stuff like this. Okay. The Bidens are heavily invested in this as well. They're not just doing real estate or whatever you call it, development in Ukraine, and whatever. And all these corporations are into many things, and obviously they're raping Ukraine anyway. Even before if they could win this military thing, they're going to rape it even more, like Lindsey Graham said. You guys can find the tapes on that in case anybody wants to look it up. Look up Lindsey Graham saying, we're going to get trillions of dollars and rape Ukraine, and Zelensky's letting us. And he's spilling the blood of all of his people, as many as he can, to help us out. That they will waste their lives so that American big corporations can make lots and lots of money. So I wonder why they don't like you. They're beginning to not like Zelensky anymore. But anyway, these companies, I lost my thought again. Anyway, I don't know, maybe it's not so important. Mention one thing. Back in those days, they were having taking blood samples from lots of, the United States was doing this, and it was done through the Air Force, and they were taking blood samples from lots of Russians from various areas, from different ethnic groups within Russia. And it was through the Air Force, strangely enough. As you know, the thing that was happening, the COVID thing, was through the Army. And at first, it started out as a military project through that, NIH and all that, with Fauci and all that sort of deal. But this one with the Air Force, they were taking all these blood samples from Russians all over the place. And obviously, you know what that's going on. And I just mentioned about these genetic, I can't, like I said, I got to be careful how I say this. Genetics. And what does the Army and the Air Force do? I guess they're military. So anyhow, they were taking these samples, and this was to be used to make some sort of weapons. And it's not bombs, it's that go boom, but it's different types of weapons. You can do things with infections and say what. And who knows how far that's gotten. And even Vladimir Putin and Sergei Lavrov were questioning the United States. Why are you going around and taking samples from all the various Russian ethnic groups? What's this all about? What do you guys have planned? Obviously, Russia knows all about this stuff. And I don't know if they're bracing themselves. How can you come up with some sort of a vaccine from something when you don't even have the sickness yet? So I don't know. Maybe that gives Russia some things to be concerned about. And I don't know if Israel is still doing that. So yeah, and of course the United States has sent chemical precursors to Ukraine. And it said how much? Where was it? It was let's see, tons, hundreds of tons of things that they can use to make chemical. I gotta be careful. Some nasty chemicals that are designed to not help humanity at all. And of course, that case would be Russians, of course. Look at this also. kind of a, if you're a kid, you know, reminds me, look at countries, like I'm in Minsk, and this is, look at it, it's like countryside, like being way out in the countryside. So a lot of people will like this kind of place. It looks really country-ish. Okay. Oh, and also, guess what? The CDC, what is it, Center for Disease Control, they are also involved with this sort of stuff. Now that's incredible, investing in making these the weapons. And I hope that doesn't get tied together with algorithms and get me kicked off. But really, really, really something. Okay, so now let's get to the Trump thing, the most important part of this, which is really earth-shattering, and it's mostly a quote. And you guys, I don't really have to, well, I have to comment on this, but let's I mean, we can all use our own imaginations, but here's a quote from Trump just maybe it's 6 hours now, some not too long ago. So these are his words. The idea that the BRICS countries are trying to move away from the dollar while we stand by and watch is over. He put that in capital letters. It's over. So, and let me reiterate right now, Putin said that they have no plans, nothing, to try to collapse the dollar. He has said that. And he even wants the dollar included in what he is calling a basket of currencies. So Trump is kind of going a little bit off the thing here, but nevertheless, he's going to be using the financial nuclear option. Really, really, really stuff. You know, at least he's not using bombs, but he wants to destroy these countries economically, and virtually anybody that wants to deal with these countries. So let's talk about that. Okay, he says, we require a commitment from these countries that they will neither create a new BRICS currency nor back any other currency to replace the mighty US dollar, or they will face 100% tariffs and should expect to say goodbye to selling into the wonderful US economy. So, in other words, he wants to basically, you know, tariffs. That means anybody that is producing anything that is tied to BRICS, they're not going to be allowed to send anything to the United States. Well, in other words, people in the United States will not import these things because the tariffs are going to be so high that they would never be able to sell any of these products from any of these countries at 100% tariffs, you know. And I don't know, what is China going to do if they're going to be selling cars there? I think it was the EU. I think the tariff is like 38% Chinese electric cars, I believe, because nobody is buying these cars from Audi and from BMW and anything. They have these huge parking lots just filled of cars, and nobody's buying them because people are buying the Chinese. And so the EU, I believe, I don't know if it's just Germany or the EU in general, they put like a 38% tariff on these things to try to make it so people will not buy the Chinese cars. You know, in a way, this is all really, really dastardly. So what it is, as you all see, is because these countries and their products say that their wages are way too high, you've got to pay people way too much, they make everything way too expensive, and so they have to punish the other countries in order to help their economies. And it's really strange. And you know how Germany used to work, and I got this straight from the horse's mouth, I could say. What they would do is when they produce cars, and they would send them to especially the United States, so they would sell BMWs, Mercedes, and I know that those cars exactly, 100%, especially Mercedes, they would sell them to the United States at a far lower cost than what they sell them for in Germany. As a matter of fact, they would make very little or no money whatsoever on Mercedes. And the matter of fact, the cars were even actually better quality. The safety glass, the windshields and things were of better quality and more safety features and things like that in the cars that they sent to the United States than those that were actually for the German market. And the German market cars were much more expensive, because when I lived in Germany, I knew a lot of people, a lot of Germans. They would go to the United States to buy their Mercedes, and they would ship it back to Germany, and it was still cheaper. They could take a 2-week vacation in hotels, buy their car, ship it back to Germany. With the standards are much higher, so it's obviously they're going to let it back into Germany with much higher standards than the cars that actually are in Germany from the same companies. And they could then it was cheaper. You could have a 2-week vacation and buy a car of better quality, ship it back to Germany rather than buying it in Germany. you know, because Germany wanted to stay an export nation. And I got that from somebody in the CDU, you know, at that time when the CDU was actually more in control of the government. So that's how that works, you know. It's incredible. That's how economics is. And Trump is going to try to crush the BRICS. And of course, it could go the other way. And it could be that a lot of these countries, because as we all know, China is a very economically powerful country, and you think they're going to want to, you know, get down. Russia is certainly not going to do that, because they're playing hardball with Russia no matter what. Trump actually would love to also crush Russia. It's not like saying, well, we should be friends with them. He doesn't mean friends as in real friends. What he means is just not try to, you know, make military enemies with Russia. And but he definitely wants to be economic enemies with Russia. And virtually everybody has to get on their knees and open up their mouth and do the Circus Seal Act on the United States, or else you're going to get punished economically. Not necessarily with the bombs. You know, of course, he bombed Syria for that matter, but I don't know if that was actually a serious thing. And of course, he threatens to bomb Iran. And what was it? Nikki Haley was criticizing Tulsi Gabbard and saying how Iran, and then, you know, because they have what is it, film footage. And I don't understand Farsi. I don't understand the language. I assume that it was translated properly, unlike the translation when they said that Iran wants to wipe Israel off the map or something. In other words, that was a mistranslation. It was said that, and it was actually a quote. It was Ahmadinejad, who was the president of Iran at that time. He was quoting Ayatollah Khomeini when Ayatollah Khomeini said that the Zionist regime in the Middle East will fade from the pages of time. And they translated it to say, we want to wipe Israel off the map. Obviously a mistranslation. But if it is true what's going on right now in Iran, and I saw something and they were translating it as death to Israel, death to the United States, and that might very well be true. And of course, they were high people in the government, in the military, or maybe the Iranian Guard Corps saying that, and it might be true, but it doesn't mean that you have to take it really that seriously. And it's because maybe it's because the United States and Israel, of course, mostly Israel, they've been assassinating all the scientists whenever they can, you know, driving by in a motorcycle and putting a bomb on the car and then driving away and watch the car blow up and kill the scientists inside and things like that. And like Trump did that bombing and killed like who actually in effect was, you know, they have the religious leader, but then there's the other leader, which is the president of Iran. And then the second highest was, of course, at that time was the leader of the Iranian National Guard Corps. And of course, Trump assassinated him and 16 other people. And they said, oh, they're killing Americans. But has any of us ever seen any evidence that Iran is planting these IEDs and killing Americans? I mean, have we seen the plans? Have we seen the evidence? No. Trump, obviously, and you know that the CIA is part of the deep state. Everybody knows that. And of course, they can feed the president any kind of fake information and come up with fake evidence, like what they were trying to do with George Galloway. I talked about that in another video. I mean, this is some nasty stuff. As a matter of fact, again, I'll have to remind you guys, I worked in an intelligence unit in Germany in the military, and I know what's capable. And I worked in another unit that actually, a lot of that stuff was even more, you know, startling. I've seen officers, you know, I don't know if I told you about this one. I think I did. I maybe mentioned this because this was like, my mouth was open. I was working for the highest, let's just say the highest ranking person in all of Germany. And that includes even for foreign countries. So, and it was not the president of Germany. It was like somebody, you know, a big military leader of the United States. So I worked directly for this guy, and here I'm driving into work, and there's people with, you know, like machine guns outside, and it's barbed wire, and I have to go over a hump and drive into this one area, and I drive over it, and then it's a small little parking lot, and then right beyond that is there's an entrance going into, you know, where the top general is at. And anyway, I drove into the parking lot over, you know, past the guys in the machine guns and the barbed wire and all that sort of thing, and you know, a big, you know, brick fence around it with barbed wire. And so I drive in and I see the MPs putting handcuffs on my immediate boss, who was an officer, a captain in the United States Army. And it's like, what? You know? And anyway, very, very, I think whatever I heard of what his supposed crime was supposed to be, you know, even though I worked with this guy, I never heard of anything, any such thing that could indicate that he was actually involved in this sort of thing. And then there was other times that I've seen people like that were there one day and then they were disappeared. And you know, I tell you, if you have a chance a lot of time to be working with people in higher circles, you might want to think twice about it, you know. And they went after me too for something, but it was sort of a very, 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 very minor thing. And it's like the punishment that I had to go through for that was incredible. Maybe I'll talk about that at some other time in some video. It has to do with like driving, and it was like, also I was with the general at that time, just he and I, and you know, and it was like, well, I'll tell it to you right now. Anyway, I was driving, and then it was we could drive over the airfield, over the runway of the airfield. Only he is allowed to do that. And here I have this armor-plated car. You know, the windshield is, I don't know, 3.5 inches thick of bulletproof glass and gun ports in this thing. And we have communications things and all that, where buttons I can press, and all police communications in the entire area, they go out and everything is zeroed in on that car because of maybe of the general and the people, like presidents of countries and things that are in that car. I'm not really supposed to be talking about this stuff. I even signed documents saying I'll never talk about this stuff. But anyway, I'm with this guy, and it's rush hour, and at those times, you know, anyway, there's cars. It's normally where this thing comes down, you know, and the cars are stopped because the planes have to land, like when the general and presidents and things come in. And so here I go across this runway, and I'm trying to get into traffic, and it's rush hour, and the Germans are not very accommodating drivers. So here I am trying to get in, and you're sitting there waiting and waiting and waiting. And anyway, then there was a big space coming, and there was a place where I could drive the car in. And so I did. So I'm starting to go in there, and then the guy that's over there, he steps on the gas, he starts speeding up and flashing his lights and honking his horn. And then the general, you know, he wasn't driving, maybe he wasn't paying attention. So what the hell are you doing? You know, and all that kind of crap. And I was, oh shit, I pissed off the general. And anyway, that's when my trouble started, and it mostly started because he had his XO, which was a major, and this major had a background of, you know, his one of his ancestors was a big hero in the Civil War, and this guy went to West Point, you know, the major and all that, and of course he was going to make me pay. And I had to pay for the rest of the entire time I was there. Maybe it was a year that he tried to put me in one of the worst, when I was supposedly supposed to transfer, in the worst duty station possible, you know, back to the United States. And in a really, really terrible unit where all the wives cheat on their husbands and things. That had a very, very bad reputation. He's trying to send me there. And I was PCSing out of the military anyway, so I didn't have to go there. And they didn't like that, so they made sure that I didn't get normally what you get a medal if you work in that unit. You get a very good medal. They made sure I didn't get a very good medal at all, something really tiny and terrible. And anyway, there's even a little bit more. So anyway, but that's what it's all about. So, and yeah, and I still got along with all the people that I worked with, and they knew that I was getting the shaft. It was mostly because of this major. So this major was the guy, you know, and he was this, what do you call it, mission-oriented type of guy, you know, and you know, whatever is supposed to happen, you get the mission done. Basically, he's the type of officer, and there's a lot of these guys around, that if you have to kill people to get the mission done, when it's something, you know, militarily, you know, that you go kill people, innocent people and all that. The mission is most important. Nothing else matters more than the mission. And that's how you get nasty and this hate and these big problems in the U.S. military, when you get officers and things like that will, you know, we're not supposed to do anything, like when you're a soldier, if it's something illegal or whatever, you're not supposed to comply with orders when they're like that. But this guy was much different. So that's what this guy was all about. Anyway, it's another long video, and I should end right now. Anyway, I told you about what Trump said, and you can think of all the implications yourself. about this financial thing, and it's very probable we're going to have some big problems. A lot of these countries in BRICS wanting to get into BRICS, dealing with BRICS, they're going to have to make a choice. It's going to be either, and it's even possible that maybe Russia and China are really going to have to come up with an alternative to the dollar now, because it looks like they're getting pushed. They're getting pushed into it. I see a cat over there. Let me see. I think it's a cat. Let me see if I can get him on camera. He wants to be a star. A YouTube. Oh, it's a doggy. Hey. You don't look very vicious. You're not a very vicious guy to be guarding a place, are you? So, I guess I better be scared and go. Okay. So, anyway, we can all use our imagination and find out what's really going to happen, And Putin is a chess player. We'll see. Maybe he's already prepared himself for some sort of a situation like this. Very interesting. So, and again, I thank all you people that watch my channel, and I'm hoping that I give you different food for thoughts than a lot of other people, and then I come up with a lot of these my little stories as well. So, a lot of fun. I hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for the compliments. Some of you guys say, "Oh, Duke, don't change. Stay the way you are," and we love your little stories and things like that, and your tangents going off into this weird sort of information. So thanks for that, and yeah, maybe get me some more subscribers, because YouTube isn't going to send my videos out to anybody. So maybe you guys, if you have any friends that maybe are interested in politics, which most people unfortunately are not, get out of here. I don't want to hear this stuff. So, okay. Anyway, thanks again, and I'll see you for the next one. Hopefully I have a test tomorrow. I hope I'm not going to be too sidetracked, and I got to get studying and get this stuff done. Okay, I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.